Hi class, so your next project is an intro to photography project. Now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about different styles of photography and what you are going to do for this assignment. So what is photography? Photography is the art or practice of taking and processing photographs. There are infinite types of photography, from portrait, wildlife, candid, black and white, landscape, sports, commercial, food, fine art, macro, and more. There are so many different types of cameras since the start of photography. The first camera is a daguerreotype. It is invented by a man named Louis Daguerre in France in the 1800s, and there is the first photograph taken by a daguerreotype. The evolution of cameras. So here you can see the evolution of cameras from the daguerreotype onto what we use today at a smartphone. So digital versus film. Digital cameras are what we use today. They do not need chemicals to be processed in a darkroom. They can be anything from a DSLR camera to a smartphone, flip phone. These are the cameras that we know and use most. A film camera requires black and white colored film, or colored film is more common now, but black and white film was more common when these type of cameras were more used. They require film strips to be processed in a dark room using chemicals. So digital photography, you can see the photo taken once you take the photo. It does not require any processing techniques or dark room. You snap a photo, you can see what it looks like and snap a new one. These are different types of digital cameras. Film photography, you guys probably are familiar with Instax. You can take a photo and it prints out instantly. These are different types of cameras that are throwaway cameras. And then we have a traditional film camera, and then you can see how it is being processed in the darkroom using chemical wash to actually process the photo. With this camera, you can see the photo instantly because the film is already inside the camera, and then the camera processes it and spits out the photo. With these two types of cameras, you do not actually see the photo until it has been developed using a darkroom. So we're going to talk about the different types of photography. Portrait photography is the act of taking photos of people. These people know they're being photographed. They are often told how to pose for the photo. So you can see in my two examples here, taken by Miss G, these are portrait photos. You can see that they are posed and looking at the camera. Candid photography is the act of taking photos of people without them knowing they are being photographed. These photos are not posed, and the people usually are not looking at the camera. So this is a photo Miss G took. You can see that these two people do not know that they are being photographed. Landscape photography. Landscape photography is the act of taking photos of nature. This can be anything from lakes, oceans, trees, mountains, and even buildings in cities, anything taken outside of nature. So Miss G has a photo of a beach and the photo of the Bethlehem steel stacks in Pennsylvania, both taken by Miss G. Black and white photography refers to any photo taken without color. This can be done using black and white film cameras, or a color desaturation process can be done in the editing process after a photo has been taken digitally. Many of you know how to take photos on your phone and then edit the photo with your phone to take all of the color out. Black and white photography can have high contrast between light and dark values, or low contrast. So this example is a very high contrast in value because you can see that there is a lot of dark values and a lot of light values. Action photography is the act of taking a photo while the subject is in motion. If your camera does not take the photo fast enough, the moving object may appear blurry. Using a digital camera, you can adjust the speed at which the photo or camera takes the photo. If it's very fast, it'll be nice and crisp. If it is not fast, you'll actually see a blur in the motion. So like here you can see this was a van driving on a street. It was taken with a DSLR camera. There is a blur because the camera was not very fast. Here is a ball moving. You can see that it is blurry. Macro photography refers to the extreme close-up photo, usually of small objects, flowers, or droplets of water. Here you can see there is a zoomed-up photo of a flower, and this is my gecko. Her name is Blue. It's a very close-up photo of her. And then the last one we are going to talk about is edited photography. It refers to the process of editing the photo after it was taken, whether it's changing the color contrast, saturation, brightness, cropping for a new composition, or adding effects. In order to know the photo has been edited, I need to see a before and after picture of the photo. So here is a photo I took at Rehoboth Beach. This is the before photo, and you can see that the color in the background of the sky has been edited using my smartphone. A little bit of vocabulary on digital cameras. The shutter speed refers to how long the opening of the lens remains open to allow light into the camera. The lower the number, the longer the light is let into the camera. The higher the number, the less light and the less time light is entered into the camera, which means the higher the number, the faster the shutter speed. Aperture refers to the size opening of the lens on a camera. The larger the aperture number, the smaller the opening. The smaller the number, the larger the opening. The aperture is the opening that allows light into the camera. Both of these combined control how your photo is going to appear. If you are using a digital camera other than your smartphone, then this is some things that you would need to think about, but it's just some vocabulary for you to know. And here is a photo of up top. You can see that this is your aperture values, the opening of the lens of a camera. You can see a little bit about a wide or a large aperture or a small or narrow aperture. You can see how it might be blurry, not blurry at all, the depth that you can see a photo. You can see a chart on aperture and shutter speed, and then the depth of field. Again, you don't need to know or worry about any of this if you are using a smartphone. It's just a little information for you to think about. Composition refers to how a photo is laid out, whether your photo is landscape or portrait format, how your subject is positioned or framed in the photo. Creating interesting composition is important. So in this top photo, this format is a portrait format. The subject is in the center of the frame. The photo was taken below, so I was on the ground when I took the photo and I looked up. This one is a landscape format, and then the subject is off to the side of the frame and is not centered. So you can see that this pathway is a little bit off to the right-hand side. It's a little bit off-centered, but both of which creates an interesting composition. Depth of field or space is how far your photo is in focus. A narrow depth of field means the subject closest to you is in focus only, and then everything else around it is blurry. A wide depth of field means the subject as well as the background are both in focus. So if you see in this photo here, the photo that I used for the nature art project, there is a narrow depth of field. The foreground is in focus, but the background is blurry. And then the bottom photo, both the foreground and the background are in focus. You guys probably are familiar with this doing the portrait mode on a smartphone. Portrait mode, you can get the person in the foreground in focus, and then everything else is not in focus or is blurry. So using your phone or iPad. So your phone or iPad adjusts settings for you. There are different modes that you can use when you take a photo, like portrait mode, where you can change the type of lighting. You can focus on what you want to be in focus and zoom or crop the image to have the composition or layout that you want. I do have a link here that you can use for good tips and tricks on using a phone or iPad photography. So what you are going to create, you are going to use your phone, iPad, or camera to take one of each of these style photos that you saw in the PowerPoint. So you are going to have 8 total images. 1 portrait, 1 candid, 1 landscape, 1 black and white, 1 action, 1 macro, and then your edited photo is going to have 2 photos, a before and after picture. Please make sure that you are using your own photos taken. Do not find photos on Google because that is considered plagiarism. If for some reason you have an issue where you can't take a photo, please reach out to Miss G or Miss Messick and we will work with you on what to do instead if you do not have a camera access for this project. Then you're going to put your photos in a Google slide or PowerPoint with the title of each of the photography style at the top with your photo that goes underneath. Please make sure to have the title slide with your name. And then you're going to upload your presentation onto Schoology. Your rubric, you can see here, the project is worth 100 points. You can see the expectation for each breakdown and how many points you will receive. Ms. G created a template for you to use, a Google slide or a PowerPoint template that you can put all of your photos in. So you can see that this is the title slide. Please make sure to put your first and last name. I have the portrait photo slide where you add a photo here. Now I can show you how you add photos into a Google slide. This little add button, or it's a little different on my screen. This little photo button here, you can upload from my computer, upload from Drive, Photos, or upload from camera. And you are going to do that for every slide. So you have your portrait photo, candid photo, landscape photo, action photo, macro photo, and then edited photo where you have your before and after picture. Again, you can upload a photo from your computer or Drive through this little button here. Then what you're going to do is when you are finished, you're going to hit File, Download. You are going to download it as a PDF when you are finished. Make sure you're doing this as a copy instead of the template that I upload onto Schoology, that it is a copy and that you're not changing the template on Google Slides. So it should be shared with you. You can edit it, but make sure that you're editing it as a copy and not the actual template. And then you can save it as a PDF file. And then that's going to make it a lot easier for you to upload it onto Schoology. I do have a video on the how to submit folder on Schoology on how to upload on a Schoology after you've saved your Google Slides or PowerPoint and then upload it onto Schoology.